Okay, good morning, everyone. It's working? Yeah. It's a great pleasure to be here on behalf of Turismo of Portugal to talk about our case, our experience, about what we are doing in Portugal in the context of accessibility of the Portuguese destination. And so, in terms of agenda, this brief presentation will be focused on 4 main points. First, tourism in Portugal, main facts and figures. It's just to give an overview about what is the tourism in Portugal, what represents. Then, about accessible tourism priority areas in the context of our national strategic plan. And then, to present some of our initiatives, projects, and some best practices in some way to share with you. First, I would like to say that Portugal is according with the Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Index of the World Economic Forum, it's integrated in the top 20 of the most competitive tourism destinations in the world, and in the context of European Union of the 27 countries, it's in the 11th place. And if we talk about tourism receipts, Portugal is in the ranking of the 26th position. So this is just to mention that Portugal has already achieved a very interesting position in the international tourism ranking. And also in the last 2 years, this year, 2014, and last year, Portugal has received several international recognitions, like from the World Travel Awards, the best golf destination, or from CNN, or from some Condé Nast Traveler as the best destination to travel in 2013. So again, here is just to give an idea about the work that Portugal has been doing in terms of tourism and the recognitions that it has achieved in the international context. And in fact, in the last year, Portugal has achieved one of the best years ever. We have around 14.5 million of tourists, 9.2 billions of tourism receipts, which means that tourism is the major export economic activity of Portugal, represented around 14% of the total exports of goods and services. So this is what represents the tourism in Portugal. Is an important activity in terms of jobs, in terms of regional development, in terms of richness for the different territories of the country. About our national strategic plan and accessible tourism area, how important is it for Portugal to become a destination accessible to all, for several reasons, and first of all for an issue of social responsibility, but also because it adds value to the country's positioning as a tourism destination in terms of welcoming, in terms of hospitable, and it's also a way to differentiate of the different destinations, and we can open to new segments of market. And which areas are we working on, or we have identified as tourism priority areas in our strategy? In terms of one of the focus is located in the hospitality industry, also in active tourism, cultural facilities, and public space. So in some way we can say that these are the 4 main priority areas in terms of accessible tourism in Portugal in the context of our national tourism plan. In terms of hospitality industry, we have specific legislation on accessibility, which is applicable to the building of public space, collective equipment, and public and residential buildings. So it's, we can say, a transversal legislation in terms of accessibility, but which is also applied to the tourism area as well. But we have also developed a Portuguese quality standard on accessibility in hotels. This norma we call norma portuguese. It's a specific norma designed especially to hotels covering all the requirements for inaccessible tourist services. It was promoted by the Quality Portuguese Institute in partnership with the Turismo of Portugal. So this is a focus specifically in the tourism, accessible tourism for hotels industry. And we have also, in this context, developed a best practice guide for accessibility in the hotel sector. It's a digital guide with technical information, recommendations for the professionals of the hotel sector. So here the object is provide services, is to provide information and recommendations to the professionals, to provide services to customers with special needs. It was again a process that we have developed, Turismo de Portugal, in partnership with the hospitality industry. So it was not a cabinet work of a consultancy work, it was a work with the National Tourism Authority and with the tourism industry, with the hotel sector in particular. Here are some examples of best practices. There is a growing number of hotels enabling access to all indoor and outdoor services areas, easy access entrance, spacious bedrooms without obstacles and with adapted bathroom facilities. So in some way the hotels industry is developing this kind of infrastructures to be more accessible in terms of tourism. Active tourism, here in this area, Turismo of Portugal, in partnership with the Portuguese Federation of Sports for the Disabled, has developed a best practice guide for active tourism accessibility. It's again a digital guide with information and recommendations for tourism entertainment companies in order to adapt the services to people with specific needs. It was a work development again with the involvement of the Portuguese Association of Active Tourism Companies. Again, it was a work to share what should be done in this context to develop active tourism. Some examples: growing number of tourism companies for outdoor activities, and this is an area that has been growing as well in Portugal. In cultural facilities, it was a project of heritage, accessibility and inclusion. It's a training program for managers of cultural facilities in order to adapt the cultural offer to visitors with special needs. It's another project that we have developed. Some examples of best practices, which is the case of the National Tile Museum in Lisboa, the Batalha City Council Museum in the center of Portugal, or the route of Val de Sousa in the north of Portugal, some of the things that we have supported and developed in the country. Now in another area, which is public spaces, it's a process of certification, but not only certification. The main goal is make the bathing areas accessible, which has involved the municipalities and the private concessions in their redevelopment. And just to give you an idea, in 2014, 194 bathing areas received this award, which is since 2005 more 145 beaches has received this certification. So it's a project to make the beach more accessible for all. And also the accessible tourism training. Tourism of Portugal has several tourism schools, and we have several courses oriented to students and active professionals in terms of inclusive tourism. So we have a training packages specifically to do train in terms of inclusive tourism, hospitality skills, and to how to entertain people with special needs. Finally, accessible tourism awareness. We are developing in a continuous way several sessions in different regions of the countries with the DMOs, with the different agents of the tourism hospitality and active tourism, in order to raising awareness among tourist agents. So we share the existing technical tools, we share cases of best practices, and we want to provide some networking for all in terms of accessibility in tourism. So, and to finish, this is the final note. and the main challenge. We can work in the hospitality industry, as I mentioned to you before, one of the focus area. Another area is related with the public space, and the training, and also the cultural facilities. But there is an issue which is transversal, which is the awareness, which is the training, and this, which is the dissemination of the best practices. This is a challenge not only of the National Tourism Authority or a DMO or regional DMO, is an issue of all, and this is, I guess, the main challenge of all of us that are here, and is in order to promote tourism for all. Thank you so much.
Now we have a thing that I like very much, because Design for All is about co-creation as well. And in this session, we will have the privilege of have quite a lot of time to discuss among us. But I will abuse a little bit beforehand, because I should tell you not nice history about this Congress. It was that I'm in the organizing committee, and the European Commission commanded 3 important studies this year, and it was foreseen that the European Commission was here presenting the results of these studies that are relevant, but different kind of misunderstandings, illness, etc., prevent the European Commission to present anything, and the results are relevant. And therefore, as it fits very well with this session, and I'm co-author of one of the studies, I would like to share with you some of the data that maybe would change or would help to change your perspective of what is Tourism for All, at least in Europe. Well, we have been here, let's say, reviewing, it's like a process, an spiral, from, let's say, the starting of assessment in Shunkuo in China, then saying, well, a very good assessment should be done in this way, or you can evaluate the progress from the Center of Excellence. Then from Portugal, we realized that the excellence, put it into practice, is another step, and then we have here a new regard. And then my data come. Obviously, I didn't prepare anything, because I didn't know that there was room in this meeting to tell you about this study, about the economical impact on employment of Tourism for All in Europe, that if you are interested in download it completely, you can go at least at several places, but at least to the Design for All Foundation website. You go to the multimedia library, you type tourism, and you will find the study to be downloaded there. And the first curious finding is that Tourism for All in Europe produce 3.5% of the European GDP. Tourism for All, not tourism. Then it is more important than the car industry, just to give you an example. Another interesting data, although European Disability Forum was saying from many years ago that in Europe there are 50 million of disabled people, when you call the Europeans, as we did with GfK, that was the main partner of the project, and was calling to the Europeans at home, 126 million feel that they got some kind of access problem. Not 50 million, but 126 million. And we were especially analyzing 3 groups: disabled people, elder people, and people traveling with children. Guess which was the group that got the sensation of facing more barriers than the others? Can you guess?
Not the wheelchair people.
Yeah, people traveling with children. Because in general, and you would be very surprised, disabled people and elderly people, in their interviews, they declare that they don't have special problems when traveling, because they know where to go, and they're used to go to places where they don't have problems. Because the majority of people with disabilities and elder people, 1/3 of them used to go to the places that they have already been. 1/3 only realize in very good friends and close relatives to choose a new destination, and 1/3 look at mainstream websites and look for the comments of other guests, etc., etc. And about 5% looks at the specialized websites. Then maybe our marketing is totally wrong. I mean, maybe what we should say, I was joking to some service providers saying, look, if you want to improve your marketing, you don't need big campaigns. You need 2 cards. One, just like a postcard, and the other like a card into a box. And you give to your client, you give the card and say, look, 10% of discount next time that you come, because you will be very welcome again. And in this box, you will find a similar card to your friend that when you invite him to visit us, he will be also very welcome. I mean, maybe these things are important, but maybe one of the more important findings was that we selected 10 potential cases of good practices in Tourism for All, and we realized several things. One was that you can provide a specialized offer for a certain group of disabled people, but it's very unlikely that you would succeed economically. I mean, mainstream offer succeed better than specialized offer. Second conclusion is that the ones who really succeed never face at the issue of the Tourism for All or accessibility as a cost, but as an investment. And believe it or not, in these success cases, the return of investment, even in one case, the investment was 18 million euros. The return of the investment was between 1.5 years and 3 years. I mean, the return of investment is, let's say, faster than renovating the hotel, the marketing campaign, etc., etc. Then, let's say, Tourism for All is a very good business and normally not well marketed. I mean, the general idea that is passed through is their sector of people that is not traveling, this 50% of the population, and if you make your place accessible, these people will come. No, this is not the reality. The 70% of these people are already traveling. These people are going to specific destinations and not to the others. And there are some destinations in Europe and in the world that are having profit out of this population, and others that lose totally the opportunity of make business out of them. Then if everybody improve, let's say the clients should be shared. But in any case, what we found was that the room to increase, asking the people if they would like to travel more, if things were more accessible, if they would spend more money, etc., etc., the room for increase is 70%. Then there's, let's say, business for all of us. Well, after this very short and improvised summary, I would like to open the floor to all of you and to make questions to the speakers and to see if we can find a way ahead that is promising both for the service providers and for the clients. Who is the first willing to intervene? Good.
A lot of the presentation shows the return on investment. My question is, from your experience in your different countries, what is more likely actually to promote accessibility? Enforcement of accessibility norms, or indeed the capital approach of return on investment?
Who's willing to answer to this?
So maybe in Portugal?
Yeah.
Thank you for your question. I don't have figures or data that can answer to your question. I don't know if I understood very well, but it's the real economic impact of the in our countries. At the moment, I don't have that kind of data that can share with you. Thank you.
Well, maybe yesterday we had an example of, I think it was in a city in Spain where the historical place or heritage place.
Avila?
Yeah, and you see
Avila?
when they build the elevator?
Yeah.
So the idea was to give access to people with physical wheelchair. And then the question was, are we going to invest that amount of money to build an elevator, to go on and to walk on the wall of the city? And then at the end, they decided to make that investment, and the number of visitors increased by 22%. So a good return on investment. It takes just a few
That was
years.
Tibidabo in Barcelona.
In Barcelona?
Amusement park.
Okay,
yeah.
so
that was an amusement park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an example. Of course, we did not. I'm not aware about too many examples, but at least it shows that if you make that investment at the beginning, it may seem a little bit risky, but if it's a very popular place, the idea is that people with disabilities like the same product or services than any other people. So this is a good indication that if it's a very popular place, then to make that extra investment, knowing that 15% of the total population fit that segment, you have a good chance that you will get a good return on your investment. But it will be actually interesting for maybe a research to have many example of the type of return on your investment if you make special, let's say, development to give access to these people. But at least yesterday in our session,
Yeah.
we have been given that example from, it was in Barcelona. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
It was me who gave
Actually,
that. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yes. My answer to your question is the enforcement is request for a public environment and for what is new, and for the rest is the market. I mean, you can make the best accessible hotel in the world with surrounded by barriers, no transport, no amenities, etc., and you will not make business. I mean, the partnership between public, private, and citizens to create a place that is nice to live, a place that is sustainable, nice to live, nice to make money, and respecting the natural environment, that is what should be done. Then enforcement for the streets, public spaces, and for any new building and service to be created. For the others, for the existing ones, they will realize that making investment, that they will make money.
Thank you. Following the same thing is in Portugal, standards and practices on hotels are mandatory, is under law, but the government is almost more like not mandatory.
Thank you. We have, like I mentioned to you before, we have a legal framework which is applicable for the public buildings, okay? But for the hotels industry, the norma, it's not no. Let me explain you better. The hotels industry, they need to follow obligatory some specifications in terms of accessibilities to people with special needs. So that's one of the points. Like today is obligatory for not only for the hotels, but hotels included. It's but then if we have like a minimum or a standard baseline, which hotels are obligated to do it, there are some recommendations, and that's why we have a best practice guide, which is voluntary, and that if investors want to do more or to provide more facilities in order to provide services more accessible, they can do it. They should do it, and we have guides and we have people that are staff to do some recommendations and technical assistance. And actually, in the context of the European Union incentives, the investments that include facilities to provide tourism for all or for people with special needs, they are more, how we say, eligible, or they could have more points or better evaluation if they include those types of facilities. So we have a first baseline which is obligatory, the minimal baseline, and then we have also some recommendations which is a voluntary, and then we have also, if you want, the European Union funds, and when we have public calls to support hotels, so the investments that provide facilities in terms of for people with special needs, or hotels with investments in terms of environment or efficient energy. So this kind of investments, they have better evaluation. I don't know if I have answered to your question. Thank you.